How's it going, everybody? Ben here once again, and today we're going to be discussing what I made a short on last night, that Kellen Moore and the Dallas Cowboys have officially agreed to part ways, which essentially means he was fired. And now it's being reported that Kellen Moore is expected to become the Chargers offensive coordinator. Now, in my short, I said that I was okay with this move if Jerry decided, hey, he's a head coach. He got a head coach spot. We're not gonna make him the head coach, so we have to let him go. However, that is not the case. So now we get to discuss exactly why Kellen Moore is being the scapegoat and why it doesn't make sense that he is the one that falls on the sword. So if you look at the offensive numbers for the Dallas Cowboys this season, they were 14th in passing yards, 9th in rushing yards, 4th in points scored. They scored 27 and a half. 120 passing yards. Now, keep in mind what happened this season. We had Dak Prescott miss 5 games, and that meant Cooper Rush starting. We had Tony Pollard essentially break out, even though people have been expecting this and seeing the progression. Ezekiel Elliott has essentially hit the wall as a running back. CeeDee Lamb had a very good season as a wide receiver 1. And they also lost Amari Cooper in the offseason. They traded him away to the Cleveland Browns for a 5th-round pick. But we're going to fall on the sword that Kellen Moore was a bad offensive coordinator, and he's the reason that the Dallas Cowboys were eliminated by the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. Now, I don't agree with that at all. I think this is more on Jerry Jones, who obviously isn't going to fire himself as the GM, and Dak Prescott. I know it's cliche to go after Dak Prescott at this point. I do like Dak Prescott as a quarterback, so let me say that before I get into this. But you miss 5 games during the regular season, and you have 15 interceptions in your 12 games. He is a good quarterback. He threw 23 touchdowns, almost 3,000 yards. He has shown glimpses of being a great quarterback. However, the money you're paying him is way more than his skill level, which I'm not faulting him. If somebody offers you that money, you say yes. And Dak Prescott bet on himself, and Jerry Jones even said, hey, I overpaid you at his press conference. But there's a reason Dak Prescott was a 4th-round draft pick. And it's not because teams overlooked him. It's because we've seen his ceiling, and that's essentially what it is with this team. Now, the cap that Jerry Jones has essentially ruined. You have Dak Prescott, who had a 58 QBR, 12th in the NFL. So he is an average quarterback. Then you have the Ezekiel Elliott situation, where he had a bright few years, but now he got paid, he hit the wall, and now they're paying for it. You also have Tony Pollard out, who suffered a knee injury. Off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what the knee injury is, so I don't want to say whatever it is. But Zeke hit the wall. He is not that running back that we saw at the beginning of his career. He averages 3.8 yards per carry, which is okay. It's 42nd in the NFL, though, so it's not great. He's averaging the 10th most amount of attempts, 231 this season, but he's 22nd in yards, 876 yards. He does have 12 rushing touchdowns, but he's not a pass catcher. He only had 17 catches throughout the season. And he is not able to be on the field enough in order to make an impact whenever he's on the field. Now, I understand people are going to say, what about that last play? Kellen Moore isn't the reason why they lost that game. I think it's just essentially a scapegoat. I think they don't have another way of doing this and essentially admitting their mistakes, because now this Dallas Cowboys team is wrecked from a financial standpoint. You're paying Dak and you're paying Zeke. You have Michael Parsons coming up, who's going to be eligible for an extension in the next year or so. You have guys on the defensive side. You have an old offensive line who's getting older, so you have to invest capital in keeping them rotating and essentially getting new offensive line after having a Hall of Fame offensive line. I just think this Dallas Cowboys team is beginning to crumble, and they missed their window essentially. I don't think that they are as good as their record says they were. And I don't want to come off as a Dallas Cowboys hater because there's enough people that do that. I actually like the Dallas Cowboys. They're not my team, but I do watch enough of them. Obviously, they're on television every week. And I think they are a fun team to watch. I mean, they beat the Bucks and they held the 49ers to 19 points. I think they have the identity to be a good team in a tough NFC East that was this year. But I just don't think that you are blaming the right person. As Kellen Moore was arguably one of the best coordinators in the NFL. I know that might be a little bit of a hot take to some people, especially the Dallas Cowboy fans at this point. But you can't credit all these guys. You can't credit a Tony Pollard, a CeeDee Lamb for stepping up and having great years offensively. Let me pull up their full stats. But you can't credit all these guys for taking that step and that leap throughout the season if you're not going to essentially say, hey, Kellen Moore had some reasoning in there. I'm not saying it's fully Kellen Moore. I'm saying that you had to give Kellen Moore some credit of that. And even with some injuries, this offense still was able to do well. Throughout the regular season, you still, again, had Cooper Rush starting 5 games. And he was able to hold his own to the point that they won some of those games and kept themselves in a playoff spot. But all I'm trying to say here is that Dallas is using Kellen Moore as a scapegoat, and unless they hire a top-tier offensive coordinator, which I don't see them doing, this was not the right move for Dallas. They get to look at trading Dak in the offseason and trying to get somebody in free agency, or if you want to draft one of these rookie quarterbacks, that is going to be the next step. You have to get a nice, solid quarterback. And Dak right now, he's a middle of the tier. He's a middle of the road quarterback at this stage of his career, with all the quarterback talent in the NFL. You see it, especially in the AFC side, but this NFC side is open. You do have the Eagles, and you're gonna have the 49ers probably, but there is not a clear third best team in the NFC right now. So attack that window with a better quarterback, and you probably could see yourself in the NFC Championship game next year. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter. We're trying to grow this channel up to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, and that can only be if you guys support the channel. I'm going to keep posting content, so I will see you guys in the next one.